Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into an exciting and essential topic for everyone working with microservices, and that is introducing YARP, a powerful tool that can function as both an API gateway and a reverse proxy. If you have been struggling to manage the complexities of your microservices architecture, or if you are looking to enhance the security and performance of your APIs, then this video is for you. We will explore what YARP is and why it is such a game changer. I'll also walk you through a real-world scenario that shows you how you can integrate this. If you're interested in other tools such as Ocelot, don't forget to check out my previous video on using Ocelot as an API gateway. The link is in the video description. Imagine you are running an online store with various microservices handling different functions. And these functions could be inventories, user management, order processing, and so on, many more. Without an API gateway, each service needs to be exposed individually, isn't it? Making it a challenge to manage security, load balancing, and routing efficiently. Here is where YARP comes into play. YARP stands for Yet Another Reverse Proxy. It is a highly customizable and performant reverse proxy library which was developed by Microsoft. As a reverse proxy, YARP forwards client requests to appropriate back-end services, and that is talking about your APIs. So effectively masking the complexity of your microservices architecture from the end user. This not only simplifies client interaction, but it also enhances security by acting as a single entry point. So all that the client needs to do here is to make a request through a single entry point. And now within that, this YARP is going to take this entry point and now send it to the various microservices connected together in your YARP configuration. So you're seeing that YARP, which is known as a reverse proxy, which takes a request from the client and now push it to an appropriate API service as a backend. That is the reason why we call it reverse proxy. It is also known as an API gateway because it takes things further. It provides some features such as routing, load balancing, and even more advanced capabilities like rate limiting and authorization. This ensures that your microservices can scale efficiently, remain secure, and handle varying load without breaking a suite. All these features that I am talking about, we cannot implement this in a single video. So I'm going to make this in parts, and maybe at the end of the day, I'm going to combine all together as a full course for you. So you can watch the part to follow, or you wait for the full course. But well, I suggest you pick the pieces. All right, so let's see how we can integrate this. We're going to create a solution. We're going to add maybe 2 API projects. We're going to add another API, another web application for empty one, and that is where we're going to configure our YARP in it as a reverse proxy, and at the same time, our API gateway. So launch a Visual Studio 2022 or higher. Let's create a solution. So create new project, and in here, you make sure you choose solution. So that is a blank solution. You can find it from here. So you make sure you search it for, if you don't have it here, then let's give it a name. We can say this is demo YARP. So in microservices, and here I'm going to name this as solution. Forget about the solution name. Okay. And that is YARP. So it should be P, not T. Great. YARP. So let's click on create and get this solution created. After that, you're going to add 2 API projects. Maybe you're going to have a product of retrieving or returning. Maybe it could be, what do you think should we do? Product, others, as we did. Okay, we can try that as well. So let's add project in here. Now with this project, we're going to add our web API, and here we're saying that this is product API. Let's add this to the solution, and here you want to use controller, so you make sure you check that, and you want to also use Swagger, OpenAI support. So let's check them and click on create. After that, you're going to also add another one, which could be others. So now this has been created successfully. Let's right click on solution. Let's go to add and add another project. It's the same type that you're going to select. And here I'm going to say that this is other API. Let's click on this, and also we want to expose controllers and Swagger for our visual access. So we have 2 projects added. Let's go and add our proxy. That's a reverse proxy. YARP. And with this, we're going to, since we're not going to expose any controller, we can add a new project in here, and we're going to choose web. So search for web in here. Now let's go in for empty project. So from this web, we see we have ASP.NET Core Web API, and we are not looking for that. We need for this ASP.NET Core empty. So this is what we want to use. So make sure you have this, and I'm going to say this is, since we are creating microservices, you want this to work as an API gateway. So I'm going to say this is an API gateway. Okay. Now let's click on next. And with this, we want to just create that. So click on create and get this project created. So when you check your solution, you're supposed to have 3 projects in here. API gateway for ASP.NET Core empty project. Then we have 2 API template projects added. We have 3. All right, so let's configure our product. Now you're not going to connect, you're not going to do any massive work in here, right? No intense work. We're going to return just a controller, maybe an action method of hard-coded data in it, because the focus is not by implementing this. The focus is implementing the YARP to communicate as an API gateway in here. So I've already made another video, a microservice video. So if you haven't checked that one out, I've put the link in there. So it's a playlist that you can go through them one after the other. All right, so let's go to our products, and from our controller, let's change this controller to product controller. Let's provide some of the, let's assume this is a product. Well, we can provide some products in here. So without wasting time, I have provided this: clothes, bags, television, shoes, phone, accessories, whatever. You can add yours. And let's provide this as product. Okay, so when you come here, all that you want to do is, let's remove this. We know it's a product controller. Let's set this as an API/controller. So that's going to be the product. And in there, we want to make this as action results. And now this action results, all that we're going to do here is return. Okay. Then let's pass in the product, because that is a list that we have. So we pass in a product like this, and that is all. Let's go back to our other API. And now in here, we go to our controller the same. Let's make sure we change this to other. So that is an other API. And here, we have to make an order, isn't it? So let's return maybe an order here. Let's just create some fake data here. So I click on the API project. We're going to add the class. Maybe this is going to be order. And now with this order, we want to make this as a record. So let's say here we have maybe an ID. So that is an order ID. Let's say it is an ID. We have name. Then we have product name. Let's assume this is our order, right? So we have let's make this as, yeah, that's the client's name. Okay, and we have product name. Okay, now let's go back. Order controller, and now in here we can remove this. Let's remove everything from here. This should return order. And in here, let's create a list. So we said this others is equal to new, then list of order. All right, since we are having, okay, so let's have a look. Now we're gonna have this others dot. So we can add range. So within this, we're gonna have a list, and maybe I have an other. So let me just grab this here, very simple, and let's paste it. Okay, so you can see from here that we're having a list. So that is an order. We're adding a range, and in here we specify a new order. So these are the names, and these are the item that they have ordered. Let's assume this is working. Then aside from that, we have to return this other, since here it is returning enumerable. We have to return this others. Okay, so we have our two APIs working. Now let's go and make sure we format the address or the port to what we want. So from our product, should run on the port of maybe 5000, and now the others should run a port of 5001. So go to properties, line settings, and now from HTTP, let's set this to maybe 5001. Then the same in here. Let's go to the other API, also properties, line settings, and I'll do same. So here is 5002 for the HTTP. Okay, let's save all. So we have our two APIs running. Let's configure startup project. So I click on this, go to configure startup project. Let's use multiple, and for now we are starting everyone. So start. Maybe you can start without debugging. So apply this, and now let's start. So you can see that the app is ready. Now this is our API, our YARP API gateway, and that is our 501 for our product. Not this one. So what you have, this is another API. I think one is not ready. Let's check it out. And we have our product. So our product is not ready. Let's run this again. All right, so we have them working. So this is our YARP API gateway. We have our product. So if I click on get execute this, we have to get a list of products. And also for the others, if I click on get others, I have to get the list of others. Great. So these two APIs are working, and they are all having a different port, as you can see from here. Now let's go and configure this in YARP. In order to configure that, there are two ways that we can do it. We can configure one in our app-setting.json file, or we can create a class and I configure that in there. When you do it in the app-setting.json file, if your app is in a production mode, you can just go ahead and make some configuration in there. You can change something and it's still going to pick it up and work. But when you do it in a class, unless you build this application, the project again. But well, I'm going to show you these two ways so that you pick one for yourself. Okay. So let's see how we can do that. First, let's talk about how we can configure this in our app-setting.json file. So now that we've seen that they are working, let's close this. let's go to our API gateway and I'll go to app.setting.json file. And now here we're going to work it out here. But before that, let's install the package. So right click on these dependencies, go to manage NuGet packages. And all that you need to do here is to type in YARP, Y-A-R-P, to get this package installed. That is this YARP. And wait for this YARP.reverse proxy. Make sure you install this package to this project. So it is done, as you can see, and I believe yours is also done. Great. Now let's go back to our app.setting.json. And here we're going to create a section. Now this is going to be the section that we're going to read. Now with each, we're having a list, a key, and a list, which has a list of values that we're going to provide. Okay. Now let's first start. So all that we need to do here is to pass in a name, give it a name. And now here, since we're going to work with an API gateway, well, we can make it a reverse proxy or API gateway. You can give it any name of your choice. Let's say this is an API gateway, although it's a reverse proxy because it's going to take requests from client and now wrap it or map it to the backend services. That's our API. And it also is going to act as an API gateway because it's going to implement some features such as load balancing, routing, and a lot. So we can call it API gateway or reverse proxy. So let's say I'm going to set this my API gateway. Well, you can give it a name of your choice. Now within this, let's open it. And here we need to specify our route. So let's say this is our route. And this is a list. So you have to make sure it's an array. Now within this list, we're going to provide our route. Now for each route supposed to be unique. So you have to provide a unique ID. So here, this is our product route. So let's say this our product route. So our product route, it should be in code like this. So product route. Okay. And now once you're done with that, we're going to also open it. Now this product route needs a cluster ID. So what is this cluster ID going to be used for? And that's what we're going to use to match or to map to the actual endpoint. So let's give it a cluster ID. Now this should also be a unique, and we're going to also implement this. So let's say this is product cluster. Aside from this, we need to provide our match. So we having our match, and now with this match, all that it is requesting for is, in your controller, in this API controller, you may have a lot of endpoints. In this case, you can decide to match a specific endpoint, maybe get only, post only, or delete only. But in this case, you want to match everything. And in order to match everything, it's very simple and easy to implement it. Watch it. Just provide path. And after that, all that you need to do here is, it has to be in this, and add this to represent all, and add the catch all, and that is all. So any endpoint or any route which is passed on to this endpoint is going to be catch up and now direct it to or map it to the endpoint, to that specific API controller endpoint. So now that we are done with our route, we have our cluster ID and our route in here. We have our route name specified. We need to now define the cluster. So remember that we have a cluster ID provided. That is a product cluster, right? So we're going to be using this product cluster in our cluster section. So let's see. Now you make sure it is outside the route. So here we have our comma. Then we're going to provide our clusters. Now this clusters, what is the name that we created? Product cluster. So we can just copy this. So we're going to define this. Now this cluster, we want to say that the first part here, it is destination. So with the destinations, is a list. So in here, we can say that we're going to map this. We are having a destination 1. This is mapping to only a single endpoint, okay? And that is a single API address. So we're going to say, give it a name as, product destination. Now this product destination, all that I need to do here is to specify the address. And now with this address, we're going to say this HTTP. Then we have our local host. Now this product, so the port here is 5001, and that is all. So we are done with our product. Let's go and configure this for the other one is what? Others, right? So here we have our route. We're going to copy this. So this is a closing. So we're going to copy this. So let's open it. Let's have comma separated. Then let's paste this. Okay. Now this is not product. It's going to be other route. And now the cluster ID is going to be also other because it must be unique. Take note. Now you're also going to match everything from our endpoint. Then let's define the destination. So we're going to copy this. Then where we have our, this is our cluster. So you have to copy this. Let's close this. Grab it. Open it. Give comma. Separate it. And add another one. Now here, this is going to be other as specified above here. And that is a product or other destination. And the port here, it is 02. You see? So anytime you make an endpoint to this, you call this endpoint. It's going to catch it up from here, from all route they're going to provide, match it up to this endpoint, and it's going to call it from our service that has been created already. The same thing applies to the other. Now that you are done with this, we need to read these configuration sections or settings in the program and now include our service and our pipeline. So go to the solution from the same API gateway, go to your program.cs file, and then in here, we need to configure that. Okay, so here, let's see from this is our API. Okay, not the other. I opened the other, not the other. So we can remove this. And once you have the reverse proxy installed, we're going to say that builder.services.add. We're going to have reverse proxy. It's over here. Then in here, we need to have builder.section or configuration.get section. And now, what is the name of the section that we need? That's an API gateway. Aside from that, we can have a look at dot. Oh, okay. So this should be out. Yes, and that is dot load from. So load from config, and that is where you're going to provide this. So this is a configuration file you want to load from. So now that we are done with this, all that you need to do here is to add the pipeline. So we say app.use reverse proxy. It's over here. Maybe not use, it should be map reverse proxy. That is all that we need to do. We are done. See, configuration or configuring this is very simple, isn't it? Now let's run it and see. So let's go and also make sure that the API gateway is running on port of maybe 5000. That's a default or a base port that you want to expose to clients. Now this is running on 7. So let's make this 5000. So when we check here, we know that our API product is running on 5001. Our order is running on 5002. And our API gateway also running on 5000. Yes, that's a 5000. Okay, good. So now that we have this, we can save this and let's run this. Let's make sure we have our postman ready because that is what you're going to use to make a request. So let's wait while it runs. Whoa, so we have an issue here. The service collection cannot be modified because it is read-only. Whoa, so you can see that I believe you've done these changes, isn't it? Check it out. This shouldn't be here. It should be before the app built. So this should be out. Sorry for that. I didn't see it. Did you see it? Okay, so it should be here before this app built. Okay. So let's rerun it again. So we have an issue here. Have you seen that? Did you also get the same issue? Well, then let's go up and check this. So when it comes to our app settings, where we have our order route and product routes, they are all matching to the same. So this is a match section. Let's figure it out. Oh, okay. So it should be, aside from this, should be slash, right? Then API, I know slash. And now with this is product. So it should be product slash that. Then we have in this. So I think this is the correct one. How did I miss this? Okay. So we do same to the other, and it should also be an API slash other, then this. All set and done. All right, let's do it again. Yeah, so you see we have them active, and this is our API gateway. So we can also try again with the other and make sure that it returns what is supposed to return. Then we check our product, it is the same. Now let's pull out our postman, and that is a 700. Oh yeah, I changed it to 700 from 5000. Okay, so now in here I'm going to make a request, and that is a GET request, and it is coming from, whoa, I copy this and see what is coming. So that is an HTTPS. We have a local host with our port that we specified, and we want to get product. And now the route here is an API product, isn't it? So let's try to see if we're going to get it. And yeah, we have it. Let's try our others. Okay, so others not found. API other. Well, let's go and check from API other, and then everything. Oh yeah, this should work, isn't it? So other cluster we have same, and I set 5002 for others. Other cluster we have our other destination and address. When we check our, let's see, is our others is running on 5002 /other. When you go and check from the controller, oh okay, so here should be an API, right? But all the same, we could have configured that properly. Let's do it again. And now also, so now it is ready. Let's give it a try. So API others, and well, we have the others. So we have it. Now you can see that configuring this is very simple. Now it's going to route all your client requests, and make sure it maps to the preferred backend address, and that's our APIs. Now, what if in case you don't want to use this app settings file configuration in the app settings, but you want to have a class for this? Well, let's see how we can do that. So here we're going to create a class. So in our API, right click on this, let's add a class with, and maybe let me add footer first. And I'm going to say this is configurations. And from the configuration, let's add a class. Now this class is going to be basic configuration. So let me give it, so basic configuration. That is a class. This class should be a static. So let's make this a static class. And we're going to provide our routes and also our clusters as we did in the app settings. So it should also return a read only list. So let's have our public, and this is a static. I read only list, and now here it is route config. So let's say this is get route. Now in here we want to return, that's a new list. And now with this list, let's first define the first route. Okay, now under define this first route, you're going to say this is new route config. So with this new route config, we can say that we have provide a route ID. And remember the route ID, and that is a product route. Then aside from that, we also need to, now this must be unique. So maybe I can put it in here for you to know. This is unique identifier. Okay, that it should provide for this route. Then the next one that I need to provide here, it is a cluster ID. Now this cluster ID is going to be mapped in the clusters section. So here we're going to say that this is product cluster. And here we are going to say that the ID of this that we have provided is this ID. Maybe let me just put down some, maybe construct more English in here. So this ID is of the cluster this route maps to. So that is it means you're going to make a reference to this cluster, this ID. So you should not forget this. The next one here is we need to provide a match. Do you remember in our app settings, we need to provide match after this. When you cross check, we have our route ID, cluster ID, and our match. So let's also configure that. And you know, this should come with comma, isn't it? Should comma separated. And we're going to say this is match. Now this match equals to new, that is new route match. And in here, let's provide the path as we did in there. So the path here, it is API and it is product. And here we're going to catch all. So we put in this wildcard and we're going to say that, hey, catch everything that's going to come in. And let me give it also a comment. And that is an URL path pattern for this route. I'm talking about the product route, not any route, product route. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to copy this because we have this already. Let's grab this and paste this and define the second route. Now the second route here, it is what is for order. So maybe I can put here order API, and on top of this, I can put in product API. Great. All right, so here, all that we need to do here is to make the changes, isn't it? So pause the video and I'll do it. Let's see who finishes. So I have my order. Then here it is order. Great. And all that you need to do here is to change this to order too. And I'm done. So the next to do here is to create our cluster, right? So our cluster should come in as another class. So we need to close this and we can return this. Now let's go to the next one. And in here we are providing our public. It should also be a static. And the same I read only. It's a list. And now this is cluster config. So you need to provide cluster config. And I will say this is get clusters. Since it is more, we can say get clusters. Okay. So here too, what are we going to do? We're going to also return a list. And are we going to say that with this new list that we're going to return, I think this should be the next line. Okay, So here I have defined the first cluster, and you know this first cluster is going for what? Product. So you make sure you pass it in product. So let's define the product cluster, and here it is new cluster config, and now with this we're going to say this is a cluster ID 2, and here we are going to say this is product cluster, right? We have product cluster. Then you know this also be a unique identifier as well for this cluster. So you cannot repeat this, you cannot use this product cluster again because it has been utilized already. Let's have a comma separated. Now the next thing that we're going to do here after providing this is destinations. You know, we can have more destinations in here because of load balancing, which we're going to be talked about later on in a later video. So here we need to provide equal to new, and now here it is taking in a dictionary of string. That is a key. And now what is the value? It is a destination config. That is a value. Okay, so in here we can provide, since it's a dictionary, we can provide a lot of lists, isn't it? Values for this. Let's provide just only one. So we're going to say this is order. Hey, did I say order? Product. So this is product, and that is a product destination. And now within this product destination, I'm going to say we're going to have, that's it. So there's a key, and the value here is a new destination config. And all that you need to do here is provide the address. So what is the address here? It is HTTP, and we have our local host port. That's the 5001 for our ports, and that is all. This is very simple. Okay, so when we are done, we can terminate this beautifully. Then we need to make a duplicate of this for the other. We put comma here so we can have the next one, and define for the second cluster. And this second cluster here, it is what? Order. I believe you know this. So all that you have to do here is to do the same as we did earlier on, make the necessary changes, and boom, we're done. So instead of the product, I'm going to say this is order, and I'll change here to 2 because that is a port that we need. Yeah, we are done. Now this ID must match with what you have in the route. So it's the same. You can just cross check. It is the same. So now that we have this, what is the next thing that we're going to do? Let's go to the program settings, and now with this we're going to comment this, and we're going to use .load. You see, load from memory, isn't it? So within here, all that you need to do here is to get our basic configuration. The first one is the route. We get it. Second one is the same basic configuration. Get clusters, and that is all. Let's give it a run and check it out. All right, so they are active, they are kicking. Now let's check it out. So from the order, it has to give us the same record. Well, we have it. Let's check for our product as well. And we also have it. And there you have it. So YARP is not just another tool in your developer toolkit. It is a versatile and powerful solution for managing the complexities of microservice architecture by acting as both an API gateway and a reverse proxy. YARP simplifies client interactions, enhances security, and ensures your services can scale efficiently. So whether you are dealing with high traffic, complex routing, or stringent security requirements, YARP has got you covered. If you found this video helpful, do not forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that for more insight on mastering microservices and other tech tips. Also, be sure to check out my previous video that I have made using Ocelot as an API gateway for more options. The link is also in the video description below, so you can go in there and now check it out. Feel free to leave your question or thoughts in the comments. This is only part 1. There are a lot of parts coming up, so watch out. Till then, take care and I'll see you again.